Good morning, everyone, and a Merry Christmas. And thank you for keeping a date with us on the Must Watch, you Must Listen to program on television, Politics Today on independent television and radio. Of course, today is Boxing Day. The Christmas celebration is still very much on. We know that today, generally across the world, is a day set aside for you to unbundle, unwind, open up the boxes and see what's in from all the gifts that has come in the last couple of hours. Well, if there wasn't any of those things coming to you, be happy, because many prayed, wished they would be alive to see Christmas in 2020. It didn't happen. So if you're alive to see Christmas, you're alive to see a day like this, be grateful to God that you made it through the Christmas celebration for the year 2020. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun. Such a delight to bring you Politics Today this beautiful Saturday morning. In today's program, we'll be looking at some of the key challenges of the year 2020 and government response, and making projections into the year 2021 in terms of expectations in dealing with some of these challenges. Let me welcome our panelists for now. I'd like to thank very especially former NBA Benin Branch Chairman joining us on the program, Barrister Ede Asenogwa. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much, Sonny, and good morning, listeners and viewers at home.
We also have with us in the studio Pastor Moses Onodua, is a public affairs commentator. Pastor Moses, many thanks for joining us on the program.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us. God bless you.
Okay, we hope that Barrister Greg Iyayi will be here on time as we get the program off the ground. Well, let me start off with Barrister Ede Asenogwa. Yeah. The year 2020, I mean, just 1 year that I've heard people say, I'm not really interested about Christmas, I'm not interested about the New Year, I just want the year to go. Just pass, pack and go. Do you feel that same way, Pastor Ede?
Well, very honestly, many people feel that way. I also share a part of that sentiment because 2020 has been a very wonderful year, in quotes. It has come with a lot of challenges like we have never seen before. And I'm sure, and I do pray, that we'll never see that aspect of this year, maybe in our lifetime, maybe in another 100 years, other people will experience it, but I pray it doesn't come again in our lifetime. Because this year, starting from the very beginning, January of this year, we've had certain things that came into our language that we didn't. Pandemic, the corona issue, started hearing it from US and Europe and all of that, and then China, and eventually crept into Nigeria.
Yeah.
And the consequences we all know. In fact, is it the educational sector, is it the health sector, is it everything was affected. Yeah. Is it the economy? Everything was affected. In fact, throughout this year 2020, I'm sure many of our students, particularly those in the tertiary institutions, did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
The health sector was taken to the very extreme. We lost a lot of lives.
Yeah.
Everything was just there. And then as we were struggling to come out of the lockdown and all the what you have, we also now experience the NSAS riot. Again, from the NSAS riot, we saw hoarding of palliatives and breaking down of so many things, breaking down of prisons and escape of inmates. These are so many things we are yet to fully recover from. And honestly, it didn't allow for business to flourish. It didn't allow the economy to thrive. So many people were affected. So many people lost their jobs. We had teachers, particularly in the private schools, who were not being paid. We had drivers who couldn't travel, a ban on interstate travels, and all what have you. So many things we never thought were possible. But again, there were lessons to be learned. There were things we ought to learn from and improve upon. So many things we also introduced into our system. It was now possible for us to be having meetings and conferences online. Even in the judiciary now, we are thinking of doing court sessions online. These are improvements and some of the things we thought were not possible.
So it was not all about the gloom.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I mean, you know, they say necessity is the mother of invention. So when these challenges came, people needed to respond. Otherwise, we would just have had a complete lockdown. So I think that the year has come with all its, all that came with it. But more importantly, we must take lessons. We must take lessons. The NSAS has a lot of lessons we must learn. The coronavirus, I hear, is trying to come up with
a second wave now. Second wave, yeah.
And then there is a panic everywhere. I do hope that from the experiences we've garnered from that
first
wave, we'll be able to manage the situation.
Well, let me take some content from Pastor Moses. Yeah, are you one of those who has been praying that 2020 just go away? I mean, anyhow you want to go, just go. So we'll forget about 2020 and start looking into 2021.
Well, thank you very much. 2020 is a part of our life. We've come to see it. Let me use the word. We came, we saw it, and we conquered it. That is my perspective. In the sense that, just like what you said, in rounding up, that it was not all bad, all true. There are some positive things that we can take away from 2020. I was in a ceremony some few months ago, last 2 months, and somebody was making a comedy that he was advising people to delete 2020 out of their life. that they should assume that they should start from 2019 to 2021. That 2020 never existed. That there was no achievement in 2020. Some of us that were in that gathering disagreed with him. So no, there were so much achievement in 2020.
Okay.
So 2020 was not all that bad. It was not completely bad. There were still some good takeaways from 2020. Do you know, in that 2020 that some people are painting so gloomy, you know, everybody now is taking advantage of coronavirus. That any little thing you are asking for, is that, don't you know coronavirus? Don't you know this? So they are not using it as an escape route. But meanwhile, 2020 has been a very good year to several persons. Those who are wired up, who are connected to the source of supply, are singing to the banks. There are some people who are wishing that I wish coronavirus can still last longer because they are benefiting from it. So what I normally say is that in every negative situation that you find yourself, look for the positivity to take away. There are people that are building houses. In this 2020, there are people that bought new cars. There are people that bought land. There are people that make some giant positive development that when you are telling some people that 2020 never existed, they will be angry with you.
Okay.
So 2020, like as I said, is not a complete waste. There are so many good things that also took place in 2020. And remember, it has not come to an end. We still have a few days.
Yeah.
So those of you that think that 2020 has been a completely bad year, God can still do a turnaround within the next few days to the end of 2020. And you see yourself smiling to the bank.
Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, let's look at some real key issues in the year 2020. One of them that people cannot just forget in the hurry. I mean, whether you live in the north, in the south, in the east or in the west, you can't forget this issue in a hurry because it's still raging. The issue of insecurity. Let me get your take on this. It all started from the northwest, and then before you know what's happening, it spread to the northeast. In fact, in Mr. President's state, Katsina State, whether you call them bandits, whether you call them Boko Haram, whether you call them Fulani headsmen, whatever name you want to use to describe them, they're holding sway, literally holding sway. As a matter of fact, on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, a report came that there was a massive attack by Boko Haram in Adamawa State, in a particular 2 communities there, where they held sway. As a matter of fact, the residents of those villages now, they've gone into hiding. Let me get your take on this insecurity issue, the promises that have been made, the level of response, and your expectations in 2021.
Well, straight away and without any fear of contradiction, on the issue of insecurity, the state has failed. As a country, it is regrettable that we are passing through what we are passing through now at this time of our development. It's so sad, and I feel personally that the government has not shown any serious commitment towards tackling the issue of insecurity. Mr. President, I dare say, has failed very woefully in managing the security situation in this country. And that is to be expected. I believe and I remember that we had called out the government of the day when amnesty was granted to some persons who professed to have been Boko Haram. Arrangements were made for them to be paid allowances. Many of them were sent abroad for schooling. And then you just wonder, why will I be struggling? Even as a graduate, you do not have a job. And then some people take to arms. They cause mayhem, they kill people. And the reward they get is to be sponsored for trading abroad, to be given serious monies as allowances. And then why will another set of people not join the fray? And then they kidnap. Government, not even individuals who are afraid, government will pay ransom to kidnappers. They go to schools, they pack students. As insulting as that process will be, for you to transport that volume, that number of young persons without disturbance, you take them away, and then you make calls, and then our government, whether at state or federal, will now negotiate with them, and then you come out and say, we have released them. You pay them. They use the money you have paid them to improve, to buy more weapons, to spread their tentacles to other areas. They started from the northwest. It became too small for them. They have grown. They have money. They have recruited more. Most of these people they kidnap. If you don't release them on time, they indoctrinate them, and then they make them part of the system. And then they arm them. When the northwest became too small, they have spread. And if we continue to encourage them, to pamper them, the government is pampering them, they will continue to grow and become more and more emboldened. That is what we are seeing in this country. Mr. President came on a promise, relying on his background, that, oh, this is a military general, and he's going to come, he's going to tackle insecurity in this country. I dare say, insecurity has worsened under his watch. In Edo State, for instance, I don't know how many of us are courageous enough to travel the Bini Auchi Ekpoma Road. It is every day. To travel from one point to another in this country is a problem. More than 80% of our citizenry cannot fly. They can't go by air. So the major means of transportation is by road. And our roads are not safe. On a daily basis, we hear the issue of kidnapping, the issue of armed robbery. People lose their lives on our highways. So for me, this year, insecurity got to its peak. It has never been this bad. And the government must wake up. In fact, the National Assembly, both the House of Reps and the Senate, they have called, a majority of our people have called for a rejigging of our security architecture. They've called for a change of the service chiefs. Mr. President is deaf to these claims. What exactly are you keeping them for? I mean, let's inject new ideas. If these people have run out of ideas, in fact, for Mr. President to even say that it is God that can handle the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, that it is God that will handle the issue. I mean, it's a sign that even Mr. President has acknowledged defeat, has accepted defeat. It's sad.
Okay.
So for me,
yeah,
certain steps must be taken. And until we see these steps taken, we just conclude that the government is not serious enough to handle the issue of insecurity. What could be possibly the reason for that? Maybe, and some people have said that these persons, they have and they enjoy government patronage. Some have even alleged that it was a plot. Oh, go and do some of these things, go and kidnap these people so that we'll have the opportunity to release funds to you. And of course, many Nigerians today are clapping, oh, we don't really care how much government paid to release those children.
Provided they
release them. Oh, beautiful. We got the children back. We're happy for the parents, we're happy for the children. But certain questions must be asked and certain answers must be provided. So you just, like I said, some people say, oh, the governor of Katsina said we were negotiating through Miyetti Allah with the bandits, with the abductors. Then the next thing we heard, oh, they were rescued. And I said, look, there's a difference between rescue and release.
Yeah. So there's something fishy
about this whole
yeah.
saga that we really need to understand. Is it that the government is in partnership with these persons? If that is so, then we have a long way to go. It will not end. Because you can't trust those who are supposed to be fighting the system when they are the ones encouraging the system.
Fantastic.
The results.
Fantastic. Let me get Pastor Moses Onodua's take on the insecurity situation in the country and the level of government response and projections for the year 2020. What's your take on this?
Well, thank you very much. The issue of insecurity in Nigeria is something that should be of paramount concern to every Nigerian. Like as we said earlier on, the government at all levels have failed woefully. I want to start by saying that every average Nigerian should be looking forward to what is the way forward. How can we tackle this monster called insecurity? My mind just racing back to maybe the First Republic or the colonial era, whereby security was not only a federal government responsibility. Security was a responsibility for both the federal, state, and local government. In those days, we have what we call local council security, police, local police. They were in the local government councils. We have state police, which is also applicable in most developed nations of the world. In Europe, in America, it is not only federal government that controls police, that controls the security architecture. So that is where we are getting it wrong, whereby we centered every form of security institution at the doorstep of the federal government. We should have local government police. We should have state police. Then, when these police units are now domiciled in these communities, fishing out these criminals would be a very, very simple issue. Now, when this issue of the Kankara boys kidnapping came up, there were some questions that I was asking myself because I don't know who to ask. The first question that came into my mind, the first thing that came into my mind is that we entered into the Guinness Book of Record with a bad record of the largest singular kidnapping in the world of over 600 and something
school children.
One report says the population of the school is about 850 something. The population of the school. And the population of the school, over 600 of them were kidnapped on that day when they came for the kidnapping. Now, if that is actually the truth, we are not there. We are basing our information on what we read on social media and on publications. how did they transport this number of persons? Now, assuming the official figure that was released by the governor of Katsina State of 433, that is not the official figure, if we are to judge by that.
Yeah.
Now, assuming it's now 433, which is the correct figure now, how did they transport 433 persons from Katsina State to Zamfara State? Where did they pass? Did they not pass through communities if they were using leg? Did they not pass through several communities? Were there no security along those communities? Were there no people that we call security and said there are some large number of persons passing through our community and they are all children? When these people know that this is what is going on in our area, so how come that the security, the army, the police, the air force, they were not aware how these people left Katsina State to Zamfara State? Then, that is number one. Number two, if people are saying there is a conspiracy theory, I will not doubt them. Because when these children were released, I saw something on television which was alarming to me. A day they were presented to the president, or whether to the president or to the governor, I can't remember now. Yeah. They were all wearing very nice, well-fitted clothes.
Well dressed and all looking polished. Yeah.
Well polished.
Yeah.
How were they able to manage to sew over 433 new clothes fitted for them within one day? It's alarming.
All right, so these are some of the questions that are actually in the minds of a whole lot of people in the fight against insecurity, against the background of the dimension that is taken and the scope of attacks by the bandits, headsmen, the militants, the insurgents. We can just go on. Well, we'll just take a short break. Pastor Greg Iyayi will be joining us shortly when we return. It's State Politics Today on independent television and radio, special Christmas edition where we're x-raying the challenges of the year 2020 and the level of government response to those challenges, and then making projections into the year 2021. Stay with us.
It's up to us, all of us. The safety of our communities is in our hands. The police need our help and support. Boko Haram threatens our lives, our future, our country. But Nigeria belongs to us. God has blessed us with this rich land. Let us protect her as we protect each other. Report any criminal activity. Call these numbers. Your call is anonymous, and it is vitally important. Your support so far has been critical. Continuing it will make all the difference between a Nigeria of the fearful and a Nigeria of the free. Protect each other, for we are not terrorists. We are Nigerians. A message from the State Security Service.
Sas, now why you give generator for passage now? You want me to smoke keep person for inside bedroom?
Where you say make I put the generator, I be no be veranda here ide, and that one take affect your room self. You don't know say if I keep this generator for backyard, all this will be last them. You don't know say they go thief am.
Our life and generator, which one important pass? Which one you prefer? You never dey hear for TV and radio news say generator smoke dey kill people. Abeg, you go better pass say we generator house wey go fit protect our generator from thief and go protect our lives from smoke.
You mean I'm say they keep people? Okay, my people, abeg make una no put or leave generator for inside house or veranda, or keep am for inside kitchen wey dem build inside house. Very simple thing to do now. Make una try give yards far from main building before una go locate generator for compound.
This message na from Independent Television and Radio.
Yeah, of course, as you enjoy Christmas and New Year, you need to stay safe and ensure that your generator is placed at a safe distance to avoid poisoning by carbon monoxide, which of course is some quantum of fumes that comes from generator. We thank you again for staying with us on the program Politics Today this beautiful Saturday morning. Pastor Greg Yayi is just joining us at the program. Pastor Greg, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now, while you were on the way here, the issue of insecurity being a major talking point in the year 2020 attracted the views of our panelists here. What is your take on level of response in tackling this menace? Because from time to time we hear from government, particularly at the federal level, this is what has been done. I mean, we have on a weekly basis the Nigerian Army headquarters giving us reports about what has been done. It doesn't look like all of this add up in terms of what we're seeing happening on the ground. What's your take?
I think my take actually on this is the issue of consumption of intelligence gathered. Because it's one thing for there to be intelligence gathering, and I do not think the intelligence community has actually failed. But you see, if you generate intelligence, consuming it is another thing. And that is where the executive, the political will comes in. I think we have had enough intelligence of movement of bandits, herdsmen, and all that. There is no failure as to intelligence. But the political will to consume that intelligence is what we are really bothered about. If we know that bandits are crossing the border at a particular point, you know, the intelligence community cannot go out against them. It is the government that gives the order, and that is the consumption of the intelligence to move against them. And this is where we are really worried, that we have intelligence both from within the Nigerian security agencies and from outside. But that intelligence is never consumed. And that points to the fact that the people at the head of the security apparatus have actually failed us. We have had a number of times motions, calls for them to be removed, but nothing has been done. And I'm a little bit worried about that. Why keep these people on their seats when what they are doing? Yes, you tell us that they are doing their best, but their best is not good enough. And that is the area I would like us to focus on in 2021. The heads of the security agencies. Can they remain there? And we don't need excuse this time. We need to be protected.
But let's get to take on this issue of intelligence gathering and consumption, which Pastor Greg just brought to the fore. Would you subscribe to this being the core of the problem in fighting insecurity?
Well, I think it's a part of it, but I want to say intelligence gathering, yes. When he says consumption,
yes, consumption.
I don't want to use the word consumption. Yes, when you gather the intelligence, you have consumed it, has reached you. It is your reaction. What you do with the intelligence that you gather. That's what he calls consumption. Yes. No, I want to say that we have consumed the intelligence. It is our reaction to the consumption that I think he is talking about basically. Because when intelligence comes to you, and like information gets to you, that it got to you means that you have consumed it. It has reached you. You have accepted it. It is what you do with it. So, for me, yes, for sometimes I also have this angle. For instance, let me use the Kankara boys kidnap. I read that the security seemed to have relaxed on the day of that kidnap. Yes. There were no security. It was something like was arranged. And that's why some people are thinking that how could this have been? You are moving. Okay, now, once such a thing happens, in a normal scenario, immediately they leave, cars will begin to fly. People will call the security agencies. Oh, boys, people have been kidnapped. People have been kidnapped. Oh, they kidnapped over so number of people. And in the next 20 minutes, actions ought to be taken. In the next 30 minutes, things begin to happen. Yeah. There will be uproar everywhere. There will be noise. So, to move from Katsina down to Zamfara, there must have been cause. Or there were no cause. If there were no cause, what would have been the reason? So these are some of the reasons why we are thinking that these things, they look so unreal. Now, so I'm saying this information, they gather it. But again, I want to add another dimension to what he's saying. We have the police not trusting the SSS, the SSS not trusting the army, the Air Force not working in synergy with the army, the civil defense people not being respected by the police. This lack of cohesion is not helping the system. When they get this information, we have done badly enough not to be proactive to prevent. We are also very, very reluctant to immediately act.
Maybe because of the safety of those kidnapped, yeah.
Sir.
Or those abducted, yes.
Sir, yes, we agree about the safety. Now, that's why I raised the issue just now. Rescue and release. If they were released, then we may not expect victims, casualties, and all that. It's a product of negotiation. If they were rescued, it was not voluntary.
No.
So there's bound to be some shooting, there's bound to be some casualty, and all of that.
Yes.
Now, either way, after the release or rescue, what happens to the abductors? What efforts have been made by the government to track them down? What efforts have been made to gather information from these children? Because even the Katsina State governor said, we know where they are. We have refused to give instructions for the security agencies to move in because we don't want victims. We don't want to harm or hurt the children.
Yes.
Now the children are no longer with them. What steps have now been taken? You told us you were in consultation with Miyetti Allah and talking with the adopters. Now that the children are no longer with them, why have you not used this Miyetti Allah to arrest these people? Talking with them and Miyetti Allah talking with these people means that even Miyetti Allah knows them.
And they know Miyetti Allah.
And they know Miyetti Allah.
And the government knows Miyetti Allah.
And up to now,
yes,
these people have not been arrested. Miyetti Allah has not said these were the people we are discussing with.
Yeah.
The government has said, who were those people that we were discussing that was responsible
for this?
America
for this
is telling us that those abductors must be brought to book. Do we need America to tell us that?
Okay.
And then we expect that these people will not strike again tomorrow? So what are we talking about?
That's a big question. Let me get Pastor Onodwa. Yes.
Yeah, you're talking about if these people will not strike tomorrow.
They are going to strike.
So the question is not of if.
Yes.
Because 2 days or
after
the release,
yes,
or the release of the Kankara boys,
yes,
they struck again, and they kidnapped a large cache of them. But glory be to God, security men were on their trail, and they quickly dislodged them and rescued those set of children.
Yeah.
So it is not a question of if they will strike again. Now, on the eve of Christmas, they struck again in a village in Adamawa State, where they stayed for close to 4 hours operating without any hindrance, and carted away their animals, their foodstuff, their money. People ran into the bush and stayed. So it is not a question of if they will continue to strike. Now, let's take a look at it. We are handling this set of people with kid gloves. And the more we do that, the more they will continue to kidnap. The more they will continue to harass and molest innocent Nigerians. Are you aware that a few months ago, the American government sent in their soldiers? They landed on the soil of Nigeria to rescue just one American that was kidnapped by them.
That's where.
And they rescued one man. They risked several thousands of kilometers to come into Nigeria. Landed on the soil of Nigeria. Entered into the bush that we are dreadful of entry. And kidnapped just one, and rescued just one American. And they left. Now, I agree that there will be casualty if these people are bombarded. The question is, after the release of these people, why did you not go into the forest and begin to comb them? Now, there has been this talk of lack of equipment. Do you remember in the former administration of Goodluck Jonathan, the former Dasuki, what was his position?
National Security Advisor.
Chief Security Advisor, or whatever.
National Security Advisor.
Dasuki was accused of diverting funds made for the
fight against insurgency.
Fight against the insurgency, purchase of arms and all that.
Yeah.
He was on trial for many years, and recently he was released. That's another thing to discuss about.
Yeah.
Let me not bring that one now. Now, you have been, President Muhammad Buhari has been in the saddle now. This is the 50th year now, as being president of Nigeria. Now, what have you done to equip this military? What have you done to equip police? Because the soldiers and the police are still complaining that the firepower of the militants of the Boko Haram is more sophisticated than their own. So how do we combat this without equipment? Just a few days ago, Olisametu was released from prison. It's also part of this security money diversion. He was released from prison now to face another trial again. Now, so since 5 years now, what has happened to our security votes?
Big question.
The president is collecting, the state governors are collecting, even local government chairmen are collecting. So what has happened to this security vote? What equipment, what military hardware have they purchased?
Okay, let me pursue there. Pastor Greg, I'd like to find out from you. Yes. The fledging of the insecurity that we have in the country, is it more of lack of political will to deal with the challenge head on, or is more of a semi-conspiracy by the militant insurgents, the miscreants, and the security agents, as it were? Because if we say, as someone said just now, that on the day of the abduction of the Kankara boys, there was a relapse of the security structure in that area. And this has become a recurring decimal. We also heard about this when the Chibok girls were kidnapped, when the Dapchi girls were kidnapped. Anytime you find a major activity done by these miscreants, there's always seeming relapse on the security on that axis. Yes.
Sonny, you see, it's a combination of both. There is a lot of conspiracy and sabotage. The president was in the States when this thing happened. At least one would expect that security alertness should be at its peak.
At its peak.
When the number 1 citizen of the country is around, how come it was when he was around that this kind of thing happened? But the answer to that question is blowing in the winds. People know there must have been some conspiracy. At least that's when security is supposed to be tightest. And how come that so many people, this thing was not done, it was not a bliss operation to adopt 333 children. It must have taken considerable time, some hours. How come that there was no response within that period? It surprises everyone. And it is this idea that is making people think that the government is possibly even empowering by giving huge sums of money to these people during negotiation, and then they use this money to buy arms, and then also to buy loyalty within the security setup, and then have their way whenever they want to operate. So we are beginning to wonder what is really happening. And that is where the lack of political will to deal with it comes in. Because who are these miscreants? They can actually be dealt with. The Nigerian army is well trained. We have very professional personnel among them. Look at what happened, like the case is cited. Why Donald Trump was even battling for his own re-election. Just one American,
individual.
Just one individual.
Yes.
In another part of the world. And that his order was this: go and get that man back safe and deal with the miscreants. There were 7 of them. They killed 6 of them on the spot. The only one that tried to run away, they captured him, took him alive with the victim, and then they took them straight So you can imagine the way it said election or no election, my number one assignment is to protect American citizens anywhere on the surface of the earth. This is the kind of political will that we need to deal with this insecurity.
But why is it difficult for us to have those kind of collaboration in fighting these miscreants head on? Why is it so difficult?
We can make projections. One, because, like I said, there might be government patronage. Two, many of their numbers, many of their partners are in our army, they are in the police, they are in the Air Force. A government that will grant amnesty to Boko Haram members and say they have repented and recruit them into the army. Yeah. What do you expect? We have seen our army run into ambush and they are slaughtered. How did the miscreants get to know that they are on that route? See, the government is, how do I put it?
It's culpable.
It's culpable. The recruitment procedure and process is faulty. These people are not profiled. Nigerian police wants to employ police officers. You don't know their history. You don't know what they've been into. You put them into the system. And then their partners who are outside get information from them. In many of the kidnappings we've had, in Edo and elsewhere, there are always insiders within the security architecture. That's one. And then this government, what exactly is their will? When we say they lack the political will, sometimes it can be either way. What exactly is their focus? Some have accused the president, and don't forget, even before Mr. President became president, he was the #1 negotiator that Boko Haram appointed to speak on their behalf of the federal government of Nigeria.
What are you insinuating now?
Draw your conclusions, Mr. Sunday. Yes, when President Muhammadu Buhari was not president of this country, and the government was saying, okay, let us listen to Boko Haram. What are your grievances? They were not this established at the time.
Yeah.
What are your grievances? Let's come to the table. Tell us what you want. What is the problem? We want to listen to you and attempt to solve the problem. They say, okay, fine. You want to hear from us? We are nominating Muhammadu Buhari to speak for us. I mean, when you put all of this together, and don't also forget, when he was not yet president, he said that attack on Boko Haram was an attack on the Muslim religion, the North. Now you are president, sir. What exactly is your will?
Okay, thank you.
So when we say maybe the government does not have the willpower, it may just be, there may be a plot. And all these are processes of achieving that plot. So we cannot be correct if we say, if the willpower is actually to decimate and finish Boko Haram, then we can say, oh, well, maybe the willpower. But if that's not the focus, then we'll be wrong to be saying that the government does not.
We'll open our studio line so you can call and also give us your take on the discussion today, politics today, on independent television and radio, looking at the year 2020, key challenges and government response, and making projections into the year 2021. As usual, we advise that you call in and make your point as brief as possible. Do not cast aspersion on anyone, whether in the studio or outside the studio. Be civil in your language. We're talking about a proper solution on what can be done to change the narratives about the security situation in a country. And of course, useful points are coming forth from our panelists. We expect us to do more in that regards in the course of this discussion. But we'll take a short break. We'll take a short break now. Right after the break, we'll be back to open our studio line, 052-290-573, so you can call and be part of the conversation. We'll take a break now. We'll be back with you in a moment. Please don't go away.
About SARS. Now why you keep generator for passage now? You want me the smoky person for inside bedroom?
Where you say make I put the generator, eh? I be no be veranda here ide, and that one take affect your room self. You no know say if I keep this generator for backyard, all this will be last them. You don't know say they go thief am.
Our life and generator, which one important pass? Which one you prefer? You never dey hear for TV and radio news say generator smoke dey kill people. Abeg you go better pass say we generator house wey go fit protect our generator from thief and go protect our lives from smoke.
Eh? You mean I'm saying they keep people? Okay, my people, abeg make una no put or leave generator for inside house or veranda or keep am for inside kitchen wey dem build inside house. Very simple thing to do now. Make una try give yards far from main building before una go locate generator for compound.
This message na from Independent Television and Radio.
Thanks again for staying with us on the program Politics Today on Independent Television and Radio. Our studio line is open 052-290-573. That number right now, right away. You'll be part of the conversations on the program today. We'll have our first caller on the line. Hello, caller. Tell us where you're calling from. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, tell us where you're calling from. Please turn down the audio level on your television or radio to remove the echo.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes, my name is Joseph.
Yes, go ahead. Just a moment. The echo is still there. Just move backward from your television set or radio to remove the echo. We can hardly hear you. We can barely hear you because of the echo.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I really want to thank your panelists there.
Thank you.
They are set up. I just feel like God will keep him alive for people who speak truth to the government.
Okay.
But what I see there is that if the federal government has willpower that has been spoken about for this service chief to be changed, I think it will go a long way in having security. Yes, they try their best, I think their best is not good enough. Let them change them and let them move from there. If not, we'll be going around the circle. God bless you.
Thank you. Well, it was still Barrister Ederson who said, well, the political we could actually be there, just as many of us are not seeing it. The political we could just be that which is geared towards tacitly supporting those who are doing what they're doing. Anyway, let's take your call. Good morning. What's your name? Turn down the audio level on your TV. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, could you turn down the audio level of your television?
All right.
Yes, what's your name?
I'm Honorable Clement from Ewing.
Okay, Honorable Clement from Ewing. Please go ahead.
Yeah. What I want to find out, sir, the federal government pay any ransom to release those Kankara and their daughters?
We were told that no ransom was paid.
Ransom was paid.
Officially, we were told that no ransom was paid officially. Yeah.
Okay. So it means that the army rescued the boys. And what happened in the process of releasing the boys?
That's what the army told us, that they rescued the boys, and then Kankara State governor said the boys were released to them. So,
No. Yeah. On that particular issue,
yes.
There are conflicting reports.
Are you saying the process was no casualty?
Hello, hold on.
From the other side of the other.
There are conflicting reports on that matter. One report says they were rescued. Another report says they were released. And when you talk about rescue, it means there was a fight. There was an exchange of fire. Yes. That is what is accounted for rescue. But when you talk about release, it means there was no gunfire, there was no exchange of fire. It means they were talking to each other, and in the context of it, you cannot be talking in negotiation without you giving us something and somebody receiving something. But we are not told that no ransom was paid.
So that's what we're told, and we'll leave it at that. I'm sure.
So there was no condition was given for the release of the boys.
We don't know. We are only judging by based on what they said. We don't know what the negotiation, how the two took place.
These are the questions bugging the minds of average Nigerians like you, who is asking those questions now. Yes. So we are not the people you really should be asking those questions. Anyway, thanks for your call.
Another thing I want us to know is that the chief of army staff.
Yes.
I was told that this is 40 years in service.
Yes.
A man who is supposed to spend 35 years and retire.
Yes.
What I'm thinking is that I'm also thinking that the other officers who are supposed to be in his shoe, those generals who are supposed to be chief of army staff in other positions that have not been allowed to occupy their position, may be working against the chief of army staff not to achieve any result because it's time of
this will just be speculation.
Yeah, that's speculation.
This will just be speculation. But I want to thank you for being a part of the discussion.
Let me also quickly add here that the position of chief of army staff, chief of air staff, chief of defense staff, and chief of naval staff, they are all political appointees.
Yes.
And they are all subject to the president's
whims and caprices. But it should be for the good of the people. So this set of interest of the people. This set of people are not bound by that rank of service. Yes. The president can decide to bring somebody that has even retired to head that position. Yeah. So why he has not been able to do away with this set of people is what is baffling. Yeah, that's the question everybody is asking. Let me take this call. Hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name?
Good morning. I'm Dennis Ahibe.
Where's Dennis Ahibe calling us from?
Calling from GRA.
Yes, go ahead.
So I recommend your emphasis.
Thank you,
and I feel that with you there.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. Please, all I know, there's what we call conspiracy between the federal government and those doing this. They're calling business on their own. Because me and you, we don't know what is going on. But they're in charge, they know what is going on. From IG to the so-called army officers, they are overdue for retirement. Which I know them very well. So they know that. I'm bad at it to you now.
This is not coming from us at all. It's purely a network issue.
So that is the matter. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, basically.
Let me quickly add something. The position of the chief of army staff, naval staff, and chief of defense staff, they are regulated by very strict army rules. And if you have put in a certain number of years, you may retire. For the position of Minister of Defense, he can call in anybody. So please, it's a breach of the rules for them to continue to remain there after they have exceeded
their retirement age.
Fantastic.
That's a very solid legal point coming in from Barrister Greg Iyayi. Thank you so much. It's still Politics Today on independent television and radio. Just some few seconds before we call it a wrap, but let's take care of more. Hello, good morning. Yes, when you're ready to talk to us, we'll put you on the show. Endeavor to turn down the other. Yes, hello, caller. Good morning. What's your name? Endeavor to turn down the audio level on your TV or radio to remove the echo so we can hear you loud and clear. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please turn down the audio level on your television or radio. Better still, move backwards.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Go ahead. We can hear you loud and clear. What's your name?
I'm Christopher, calling from my bed. I really appreciate all the discussion there.
Thank you.
The question I want to have is that this Boko Haram fighting Nigeria and now, if another country was to be fighting us, that means it will be another big problem. When they fighting few people now, not a country, another country. What do you think? What do you think about this?
Oh my
This is my question. And another one is that The president of the national assembly listening to you people, are they hearing the discussion? This is a very good discussion that they should consume and take decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just enthralled by the first question I asked. If Nigeria as a country fighting another country, is this the because I know that Vice Greg commended the Nigerian Army of being made up of highly professional, qualified, articulate, and ever-ready men and women. But here we are confronting Iraq country to deal with. How is this how we're going to respond to it? Mr. Greg,
Let me say this.
Yes, if they cannot fight,
I maintain that the Nigerian Army is very professional. How do we know that?
Just let me hear something's point. Yes, yes, go ahead, but we're listening to you.
I said, if they cannot fight these people, how can they even fight a country like Cameroon or Togo?
Okay.
You know, it's to us.
Or even Benin Republic. Okay, Mr. Greg, quickly, we're going to wrap now. Yeah.
The Nigerian Army, if you look at whenever they go out for outside assignment, they do very well. They excel very well. The thing is this: they are allowed to do their work professionally. There are people in the army who are frustrated that they are not allowed to deal with this ragtag army the way they are supposed to be dealt with. There are some of them who can clear these people within a very short time. And we must be very candid. Our army is well trained, and some of them have the zeal, they have the will, and they shed tears to see the country being torn to shreds by all these ragtag people. And that's where the conspiracy theory comes in.
Okay, well, it's always that way. We're having a great time on television. Time runs so fast, and our time is up on the program, Politics Today. But I want to say big thanks to our panelists. Pastor Ade Asenokwa, thank you for coming. Pastor Moses Omodo, thank you for coming. Pastor Yayi, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And to all our viewers, listeners across the world, thank you again for staying with us. And this is wishing you a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year 2021 in advance. Bye for now. This is certainly the best.